Elvis last year, Priscilla this year. Who knows what we're going to get next year? Priscilla was directed by Sofia Coppola. It stars Camila Cole and Jacob Elordi and is a retelling and interpretation of the book written by Priscilla Presley. In here, we follow the experience of Priscilla Presley's rise to fame as she marries into the Elvis Presley family, the king of rock and roll, his very self, and her trip into Graceland. Eventually, this turns into their relationship coming to a head with something that could be more toxic than anything else, and both of them discovering things about themselves which could be darker. There's a lot of stuff going on about Priscilla. There's a lot of controversy surrounding it. On one hand, we had, before her death, Lisa Marie say this movie was extremely disrespectful to her father. She didn't like it. She didn't approve of it. Her mother, on the other hand, said she liked it. She approved of it. And there's been a lot of controversy about how much of this is accurate, how much people have been vilified, or things like that. I'm not here to talk about all that that's been involved. I'm here just to speak about the movie as an actual film. And for the most part, I'd say I was pretty much entranced throughout the movie. It kept me very much hooked, and I wanted to see what was going to happen next. The movie's not without flaws by any means, but it's a very solid film because Sofia Coppola is a director that has proven herself time and time again to be a competent and beyond fantastic filmmaker. This movie has a lot to go for it. It's backed up by A24, who made it, and they usually allow for this kind of creative filmmaking and things you wouldn't normally see from other people. And that lends itself to Coppola's direction, which is usually far more quiet and personal and less grandeur. Her films usually are more centered on character moments and lingering on a moment than it is just setting up the next big bombastic scene. And I'd say more than most directors now, her films' dialogue are usually very important. She's not afraid to take shots and make them actually just sit there and let you ruminate with it, even if a feeling is uncomfortable. There's a lack of music in a lot of scenes of this movie, which I think do help to improve your experience with the film. It's something that is a chance that most filmmakers aren't willing to take, but I think she does it very well because she's had such a good hand in this for so many years. She definitely has a good beat in this movie, and the direction here is absolutely flawless. It really excels. She's able to get some very raw performances out of the actors and get some emotions into you and on screen that are very difficult to convey. For the lead playing Priscilla Presley, Camila Cole is fantastic. I really want her to get nominated for an Oscar. My worry is that she might not because she's such a youngster, but I'm hoping the Academy takes notice of this performance, which is extremely vulnerable, but also spanning of decades. She has to play Priscilla Presley from being 14 years old until she's in basically her 30s or 40s, and it feels natural the entire time, and she's able to progress this character in a way that feels like you're watching someone mature. She's able to bring out humanity in Priscilla and that naivety at the same time, that side to Priscilla that's not really shown in front of cameras. And I like what she was able to do with it. Her emotions are just fantastic, and everything about her was just so well done and well performed. Jacob Elordi and Elvis is here is pretty good also. He does a really good job. I wouldn't say he's on the same level as what Austin Butler did last year, but I'm not expecting that. But pretty much any comparison between those two films is kind of pointless. They're not the same movie at all. Because I think both movies, if I'm going to talk about this for a second, take an extreme. Elvis, the movie we saw last year, for sure, certainly sanctified Elvis and made him look to be a great American Idol as he was. This movie turns to more or less do that same thing for Priscilla, so neither one is necessarily an account that could be considered necessarily accurate. And this film doesn't claim to be, neither did the Elvis movie. Both these movies are interpretations. One is through the eyes of the Colonel, this one's through the eyes of Priscilla, so neither one's stating this as fact. So for people who are getting their pants up in a bunch over this movie, they're not presenting this as fact. They're saying this is through the eyes of Priscilla Presley, and that's fine. I was able to watch the movie through that. Nevertheless, I will say this film, I think, does take some liberties going pretty far in places. I feel like some of it is too soapy, too dramatized, and parts of it feel like they're trying to put Elvis in a place to make him seem worse than he possibly was. I don't know personally, I wasn't there, but I don't feel like everything here was naturally carried out, where one side looks to be completely in the right and the other side is more in the wrong. I feel like a lot of things that are nowadays not as smiled upon are treated differently back then. And the thing is, with time, it's going to be treated differently. And I think people need to accept that when they watch this movie. Because in modern film, we're going to treat that the way we understand it now, not the way we saw it back then. So it's not like the movie's trying to necessarily go out and attack the Presley name, but I can see where concerns are coming from there, and I have my own with it as well. The movie also, I think, is rather long in places, and I don't think all the characters are handled necessarily the best possible way. Again, Elvis, I feel like, is just too vilified in here. It feels rather extreme. It's putting him on the verge of, like, a weird criminal you'd see in a horror film, which I wasn't a big fan of. But nevertheless, for the most part, I had a good time with this movie. Another thing I found, though, pretty lacking was, in parts, this movie looks pale. It doesn't look appealing to look at, and I know that's part of probably what Sophia Coppola's direction was, but it still doesn't help that it can look dull in a way that makes you want to sleep. Overall, though, I think Priscilla is a pretty decent movie. There are parts, like I said, that I don't like, and I just wasn't fully loving it, just because it's not necessarily a movie that I was huge to see, other than I wanted to see it because I'm interested in the Presley name and stuff. But overall, it was a successful film that I really got a bit of enjoyment out of and was invested in throughout. Let's give it a grade. I'm going to give Priscilla a 7 out of 10. Thank you guys always so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you all next time.